Hello, my name is Erin, and I'm the Organizational Development Coordinator with CommunityWise. Our staff, collective, and board of directors are excited to share our first ever annual report in a digital format. Before getting into the more specific activities we've been up to over the past year, I'm going to share just a little bit about what has guided and grounded our work. The CommunityWise theory of change has guided our activities both inside and outside of the building, aligning them with our two long-term goals. One, that CommunityWise members are better able to achieve their own organizational goals through their participation in CommunityWise. And two, that Calgary's nonprofit and grassroots sector is more equitable. We've been informed by our values of mutuality, inclusion, accountability, trust, and equity. In 2019, we formalized a new 3-year strategic plan focusing on 4 priority areas: updating our membership service delivery model, updating our funding model, improving the Old Y building and maintaining its presence for our members, and ensuring that we're an equitable, supportive, and healthy organization to work for. Anti-racist organizational change, or AROC, has continued to be a grounding framework for us as we strive to embed racial equity into all layers of our organization, from external communications all the way through to organizational culture. Currently, AROC is focused on addressing anti-Indigenous racism, as well as surfacing racism faced by nonprofits that are run by and for racialized and Indigenous communities. An Indigenous advisory group has met regularly over the past year to guide this work.
Hi, I'm Megan, and I'm CommunityWise's Member Support Coordinator. This is a new role at CommunityWise, and is part of the strategic planning process looking at a new and clear membership service delivery model and supporting member organizations' experiences at CommunityWise. Currently, CommunityWise has 89 members, and of those, 32 are tenant members, 50 are associate members, and 7 are individual members. Over the course of the last year, CommunityWise has welcomed 6 new members, as well as saying goodbye to a number of member individuals and organizations. These include memberships that have been ended or expired, memberships with organizations that have closed, as well as organizations that have moved to new locations. In the last year, there were 1,097 room bookings of CommunityWise shared spaces. It's important to note that these room bookings don't take into account the hundreds of gatherings and meetings that are held in tenant members' own offices and meeting spaces in the building. These are just the bookings that are made through the CommunityWise office in shared meeting spaces. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic and following public health restrictions, CommunityWise stopped accepting bookings on March 17th, and this restriction was in place for the last 11 weeks of the fiscal year. This image shows the number of room bookings made in the 2019-2020 fiscal year in comparison with the previous year's bookings. Just prior to the pandemic, CommunityWise was on track to slightly exceed the previous year's bookings, but due to the significant changes that resulted from the pandemic, CommunityWise ended this fiscal year with approximately 20% fewer room bookings than the year before. We recognize that these changes had a significant impact on all of our members, and we're grateful for your understanding, patience, and dedication to taking care of each other in community.
One of the priority areas of our current strategic plan aims to implement a new and sustainable funding model for CommunityWise. And while this is a long-term process, we've already seen some signs over the past year of this model shifting. We were excited to successfully receive grants from some new funders, such as the federal government's Department of Canadian Heritage, which allowed us to create the new position of Member Support Coordinator, alongside continuing to receive funding from some longer time supporters, including casino funding. I will mention that at our most recent casino event in February, we took in about $10,000 less than we were anticipating, so another sign that things are shifting. On the screen, you'll see other financial and in-kind supporters from the past year, including along the top our members. And our members, you, are so much of the foundation of what we do, including in a financial sense. And Sarah will talk in the next section in a bit more detail about the significant contributions the membership makes towards the operating budget of CommunityWise. For now, I'll just share this graphic representation of the breakdown of all of the different member groups and their relative contribution to CommunityWise. And so I think part of our resiliency as an organization comes from having so many different groups, each contributing their piece to the whole. It's also true that members contribute in different ways. And so interestingly, at the present time, about 30% of the revenue contributed to CommunityWise from the membership comes from just 4 groups. Another indicator of our model shifting has been an increase in revenue received through donations, and there's some highlights on the screen. That we currently have 16 monthly donors is significant because it's at least double what we've ever had before. Also, that in 2020, we've been able to already exceed the annual goal that we set for ourselves at the beginning of the year is important because of things like the pandemic and a reduction in other forms of revenue, such as casino fundraising, as mentioned earlier. We've continued to build out our fee-for-service model, which has primarily been in the form of trainings on the topic of anti-racist organizational change. And then, of course, over the past few months, like everyone else, we've been hit with COVID-19, and this has challenged our funding model in a variety of ways. With the closure of our building, we haven't been able to take in revenue through common room rentals. Members have, of course, experienced challenges of their own, which has made paying rent more difficult for some. At the same time, we've been opened up to some new forms of support, like the Pandemic Recovery Program, the Emergency Wage Subsidy, and as mentioned, our donation fundraising has actually increased. And so, at least in a short-term sense, this has allowed us to make up the difference. Now, as we look forward, we'll be applying our significant learnings from this pandemic to the research and planning phase of our business model redevelopment. We're aiming to get to a place where we're more fully accounting for and planning for the long-term costs of operating a heritage building. And we look forward to a year from now when we're able to share more about what has changed in this ongoing process.
Hi everyone. 2019 finance has been audited. Financial statement indicated that we're in a really good financial condition, and we don't have any problem. We met all of the government stand and accounting principle. Here, I just want to highlight a couple of key points to everyone, which is special in the 2019 finance. And the first is the revenue part, where money come from and where money went. Of course, the major revenue is office rental and common room rental, which was 52% of the total revenue. And funding and grants from all of the outside sources, such as the Castle Fund, the Calgary Foundation, Cleaning Heritage, something like that, and is $135,746, which is 39% of the total revenue. Fee for service, donations, and is about 5%. And the last one is a small operation revenue, $13,000, 141. Okay, which is 4% of the revenue. Where money went, the number one is maintenance staff. Payroll is 168,000, 50% of the total expenses. And maintain the building, which is 28%. And program and community development, we spend $34,089. And the last one is the administration expenses. So those are revenue, where revenue come and where revenue went. And what's new in 2019? The number one is revenue has grown a lot. And you can see the chart. Under 2018, we are only $294,174. Under 2019, we have a $344,053, which is increased almost $60,000. And second one is cash available at the year end. And it's quite a sharp increase from the 2017, 2018 to 2019, right? That means we really generated more revenues and compared to the past years. And another point is we budgeted better. We are planning and better than past years. Revenue versus actual, and we budgeted the revenue at 395,000, and we received 386,000. So which is 98% of our budgeting. And expenses wise, we budgeted at 389. We received at 367, which is 7% of 94% of the budgeting. So it's better, right? You can see it. Another point is we had a strong position. We had a C+ this year. And the operation revenue minus operation expenses, we had a C+ of $39,000. And we plus deferred contribution, and of course take out amortization expenses. And by the year ended on December 31st, 2019, we had a C+ of $18,654. This compared to past 2 years deficit. So we received a C+ as a result to conclude the year of 2019. So, finance is the key fundamental to the organization. It's everybody's effort. We rely on sport strong leadership and a community strongly, very good supporters and hardworking staff to make the 2019 better, right? And we want to say thank you, and together we will do better. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Philip. I'm the operations coordinator here at the CommunityWise Resource Center. It's been quite a year. Today I sit here in an otherwise empty building during a pandemic. It's quiet. This is not always so. Looking back on the year, as we do for an AGM, I want to highlight a few key activities related to one of our strategic priority areas, which says, CommunityWise honors the old Y building and improves and maintains its presence for members. It's CommunityWise's job to help make sure that we are supporting members in this building and the use of the space in an equitable and transparent manner. This building has to be a place that supports members in achieving their goals. As operators of the building, we understand the importance, value, and different histories here that create a particular purpose in the community. CommunityWise needs to prioritize the experiences of equity-seeking groups, and in particular racialized and Indigenous community members. In the fall, we explored equitable placemaking initiatives, building on feedback from the Anti-Racist Organizational Change Working Group for this exact purpose. The built environment is a critical arena of anti-racism work. Since last AGM, CommunityWise partnered with 6 member groups on separate renovation projects as standalone renos. In the summer of 2019, we organized a set of upkeep projects involving roughly a third of the building. This involved hundreds of hours of member volunteer contributions to help make it happen. We've also launched 2 additional building projects, one an IT improvement project, and the other in partnership with the City of Calgary as a preventative maintenance schedule for our historic boiler and heating systems. Since we last met, a great deal has evolved with the relationship with the City of Calgary. In October, we formalized a relationship charter with the city, which outlines shared values, communications, and importantly, key milestones to be achieved together. This is where we stand now and always on the edge of further and significant change in our collective journey. We look forward to the year to come and the further work to make real our objective in ensuring that the Old Y building is a protected, well-managed, and valued resource to CommunityWise, its members, and the larger community on Treaty 7 territory. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Thalassy, and I'm the Equity Coordinator at CommunityWise. I'm here to give you a summary of things related to human resources at CommunityWise since the last AGM. Since then, we've had 7 people on staff at various times. They include myself, Megan, Sameen, Aaron, Phil, Sarah, and Allison. In addition to these people, we had a practicum student, Callista, who was with us and contributed 300 hours towards CommunityWise. Another great resource from a human resources perspective are our volunteers. We estimate that there have been about 100 volunteers that have contributed about 1,500 hours of volunteer hours towards CommunityWise, something that we're very grateful for and very much rely on. And additional human resources supports that we've had through by way of consultants include the support of Rita Aboud, Roman Katz-Nelson, Kira Page, and Emily Yee Claire, as well as a handful of contractors that have come in for small jobs. In terms of the strategic priority number 4 in our current strategic plan, that for CommunityWise to be an equitable, supportive, and healthy organization to work for, we have activated the HR committee of the board to really work on this and figure out how we can best achieve that goal. Some of the activities that we've undertaken through that are things like reviewing our personnel policies, talking about what safety and security mean for the staff at CommunityWise, and also hiring consultants to help us better work through some of our internal dynamics so that we can be an effective staff collective together. So I think there'll be more to say on this next year. We've only just begun this work, but it's something that the board and staff have been spending a lot of time on. So that is the HR update for CommunityWise from May of last year to now.